All right, welcome into Chicago Bears Now. Yes, chat, I'm aware. We're about 5 minutes behind schedule. I had to spit a quick take on Justin Tucker getting cut, all right? Cut me some slack here, but we're ready to rock. We're ready to roll, and we got a lot to get to here on Chicago Bears Now. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. Shout out your city. Continue to let us know where you guys are tuning in from. Producer Cullen on the ones and the twos. Cullen, did we have a good weekend?
Great weekend, man. It's kind of weird, post draft, kind of just getting everything set up, getting everything kind of just acclimated to. Now we're really in the off season, the dog days of the off season, really before training camp, preseason, and everything. But had a nice, relaxing weekend. So here us Chat Sports, we had a 3 days, so. Can't complain about that, but yeah, can't complain.
Definitely can't complain. Had a good weekend, and now we're back at it. Plenty to discuss, as there's always stuff to talk about. Let me get some shout-outs going for people in the chat. The very, very patient people in the chat. Hot Takes says, Harrison, have my kids. I've got one child, and that is enough for now. But I don't know what else to make of that comment. Keegan says, in Warsaw, we got Gerald in Omaha, Nebraska. Been to Omaha once for TCU making the College World Series. That was fun. Santana, Jordan, Minnesota. Let's see. We got Colton in Sioux Falls. Merrimack, Wisconsin from Brian. Santana and Jordan, Minnesota. Harlan, Kentucky from Jacob. We got LaCora in Tuckerville, Illinois. Adios, Justin Tucker. Cullen, does Justin Tucker ever play in the NFL again?
I'm going to say no. I think he's done.
He's low-key been bad the last 2 years.
Yeah. I was I think this was the week, either it was the Bears bye week or whatever it was. I was working the Ravens game with our Ravens host, Joey Peterson, and that was the game where Tucker missed like 2 crucial kicks against the Philadelphia Eagles like earlier in the season. It's been downhill for Tuck for a minute. And look, two things can be true, right? He could be looked at as potentially, arguably, the all-time greatest kicker in NFL history, and at the same time, no longer worthy of being on an NFL roster. I think that's where we're at now.
Yeah, I think a team would sign him if he didn't have the sexual harassment stuff going on. But I think when you add that in to the fact that he's just been bad. Like, you can't dispute it. Like, you go look at the numbers the last 2 seasons, he just hasn't been very good. So I tend to agree. I think he's done. I think the only way he's not done is if these accusations get cleared up and, a team suffers a key injury and they give him a shot like mid-season or something like that. I don't think he'll be on a roster to start this year. I'm sure you guys might even ask me about it. Should we bring him in for competition as Cairo Santos? He hasn't been good enough. And the Bears will not touch a player who's got accusations like this. I think we saw that in the draft with Mike Green. So I do not expect Justin Tucker to be a Bear or, quite frankly, on any team. So we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens with his legal situation or off-the-field situation, I should say. But, yeah, what a bizarre ending if this is the end, Colin. To me, he was like a lock for the Hall of Fame at one point, but with how poorly this appears to have ended, and now with the off-the-field, he may not get into the Hall of Fame now, which is, it's hard for a kicker in the first place, but to me, he was clearly on that trajectory. Mm-hmm. And now, I don't know. I don't know if he gets in.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. It's a very interesting situation. Obviously, now that he's officially been released, they obviously took a kicker, I think, 6th round of the NFL draft. So They've kind of made all the steps necessary to move on. And, it would have to, again, take a lot for him to even get a chance again. But like you said, he's been bad.
Yeah, look.
Bad.
There are not 32 good kickers in the NFL. So, again, if he didn't have the off-the-field stuff going on, he would absolutely get signed to at least compete for a job, given his credentials. But with the off-the-field, I just don't think he's getting signed. I just don't think it's going to happen. So, the Bears thought Robbie Gould was done, and they cut him, and he was great in San Francisco for several more years. So there have been instances where, sometimes with that team, you need a restart. But again, it's not just the football part of it. It's I don't see a team taking a chance with his decline in play and with his off the field status. So I'm guessing we don't see him in an NFL uniform again, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, today's show is sponsored by Rocket Money. We appreciate them for sponsoring today's live show. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and it'll also help you lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. When it comes to spending, sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind. That daily coffee habit, streaming services you're spending for, they add up quick without you even noticing. Rocket Money can help you spot those patterns so you can do something about them and keep more money in your pockets. You can see all of your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. For ones you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can help you cancel them. Rocket Money can even try to negotiate to lower bills for you. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save. Then you ask them to negotiate for you. They'll deal with customer service so you don't have to. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when they use all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions today and reach your financial goals with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. That's rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. One more time, it's rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. We got that link for you guys in the live chat of this video. Okay, got a super chat or two rolling in. Cornelius, is Chubb or Zadarius Smith? You can only sign one. I put a short out earlier on this. If I could only sign one free agent the rest of the offseason, obviously that's not the case. They could sign multiple if they want to. But I would pick Zadarius Smith. He's still a productive pass rusher, 9 sacks last year, and it's not like one of those fake 9-sack seasons. Like I think we kind of saw that with Ngakoue, that his last couple of years of good production was kind of fake sacks. He was cleaning up, sacks from what other players were doing to contribute to that sack. Zadarius Smith, his pass rush win rate, I think it was like 14% last year. He still grades out above average against the run. He's just a solid player. Is he a star? Is he a Pro Bowler? Probably not, but I think he's a solid starter, high-end rotation guy if you want to use him in that role. So, I would like to – I'm intrigued by Nick Chubb, Cullen. I'm intrigued by J.K. Dobbins, but I think Zadarius Smith potentially would have the biggest impact if they were to bring him in.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think, going into this season, we talked about it all offseason, really leading into the draft, that the Bears, we thought they were going to sign an edge because we thought they addressed the interior really nicely with guys like Grady Jarrett, Dayo Odeyingbo, who could play kind of that hybrid both. They obviously drafted Shamar Turner in the draft. But, it's just kind of looking at those situations where Montez Sweat's not coming off his best year, right? So you're looking at that edge group with Dayo Odeyingbo. You've got Austin Booker. You may need to add just another solidified, stable position or stable body at the edge position to really just beef up this pass rush and really make things good about it. I think at the end of the day, if you roll into the season with just DeAndre Swift at your running back position, you'll be fine, potentially really good with this new offensive line, new coaching staff, etc. But I think you're going to really need potentially another body to help this pass rush out, and I think Zadarius Smith could very well fill that role.
Yeah, to me, if Austin Booker doesn't take a jump, and if they view Shamar Turner more as an interior player, you're a Montez Sweat injury away from being pretty just almost nothing at edge. Dayo Odeyingbo, I think is a solid player, but I think he'll have better pass rush production from the interior. That's what his last couple of years tell us. Daniel Hardy, while he flashed in camp and in the preseason last year, he's more of just a special teamer. Is Dominique Robinson breaking out in year 4? I doubt it. Now, you could say the same thing. Well, if DeAndre Swift gets hurt, this might be the worst running back room in the league. I don't disagree. So, I would try to sign a running back and Zadarius Smith. But I do think that while you have more bodies on your defensive line, and while in theory, a couple of those defensive tackles could play some edge for you. You really only have about 3 guys that can play edge consistently, and that's if Austin Booker takes the proper steps this year. So, yeah, I think if you don't get indication, early on in training camp that Booker is ready for at least a notable rotation role, I think you're going to have to bring in an edge at some point. I really do. So we'll see if that's a short-term thing they consider or something, July, August before the season starts. But I would not be shocked if they add it there. Dennis, what running backs do you think could be trade targets? I've heard mild buzz about K9, which of course is Kenneth Walker, James Cook. I don't buy the James Cook stuff. I don't believe Swift is a clear RB1 by week 1. See, if I was a betting man, I would say Swift is your RB1 this year, which is fine. It's just, are the other guys that play, are they reliable enough? Because I think last year, I don't think the issue was that Swift was your best running back. I think the issue was that you got nothing out of anyone else, right? I mean, Roschon in a goal line package was solid, but that's it. Like, from a in between the 20s, he essentially had no value. Khalil Herbert, whether it was a coaching issue or Herbert or whatever, he wasn't a factor last year, which is why they traded him. So I think that's the key, Colin. I think you're okay if Swift is the starter. It's just, do you have another guy or two that you feel can be productive? I would hope yes, behind a better offensive line, but that was not the case last year. As much as we, complained about Swift and his vision at times last year, he was at least a solid player. The rest of the room was not very good at all.
Yeah, and I think, look, I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit this morning on our Bears video. Like, Poles has, confidence in Roschon now. Again, what is that more or less tongue-in-cheek, kind of protecting Roschon, maybe kind of boosting him up a little bit, given the fact the Bears haven't been able to acquire anybody outside of Kyle Monungai to add to this running back room. But to me, like, the Bears just aren't going to be done. Like, whether it is K9, whether it is Breece Hall, whether they go out and sign Nick Chubb or J.K. Dobbins or whomever, I think the Bears are going to add somebody. But if you roll into the season where Swift is your RB1, you're not in necessarily trouble in that regard, but I would like to add, a different element to this offensive scheme, especially, with Ben Johnson, all the weapons you have in the passing game.
The good news is I think the competition will be just elevated just from this staff's presence alone. So if you're Roschon and Kyle Monungai, you got to be looking at this. Like, I could have a prominent role on this team if I have a good camp and if I have a good offseason. So I tend to agree with Colin that someone will be added. But if they're not, I'll say this. If they don't make an addition there, I think they got to feel pretty good about someone behind DeAndre Swift. Because I think Ben Johnson, he seems like a pretty straightforward guy. I think if it's mid-August and he doesn't feel good about that room other than DeAndre Swift, I got to think he'd go to Poles and be like, look, we got to add somebody. I mean, it's just that this isn't going to cut it for what we're trying to do offensively. So, I don't think a move is imminent, but I do think if they get through the next couple of months and aren't sold on the other running backs, then they will likely make a move or at least try to. Caden Gunvaldson, what rookie are you most excited to watch? Any team. Well, for the Bears, I'd probably go Luther Burden. We got a full segment on him today. I just think he fits what Ben Johnson wants to do offensively to a T, so I'm pretty excited about that. Any team? I mean, I'm intrigued how the Jags use Travis Hunter. I mean, does he play more offense? Does he play more defense? I think they're going to play him more on offense and try to get Trevor Lawrence back on track. That's my guess. I would say. Would you agree with that, Colin? Do you think he's more of an offensive piece for them?
Yeah, I mean, based on everything that I've kind of read up on the Jags, which it's not a lot, but I think they're going to use him primarily as an offensive weapon with, him kind of mixing in on the defensive side. Look, I think that's a great answer. To me, like, another just, answer out there, and it's really kind of cheating because it's two, but what's going to happen in Cleveland? That whole quarterback carousel with Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett. I mean, that's
I hope we get Hard Knocks for the Browns.
Yeah. Like, that to me, like, that's going to be the most interesting storyline headed into, the preseason and potentially the regular season as well, is how those guys are all looking and, how they're dividing up reps and all that stuff. Because, I mean, like you said, you drafted Gabriel in the 3rd round. You drafted Shador Sanders, who was looked at as potential top 3 pick in the 5th. You signed Kenny Pickett. You have Joe Flacco. Like, who's going to prevail on top? I mean, it's just.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm intrigued. I know the Panthers are pretty irrelevant, but they've been very relevant on this channel the last couple of years, just given the trade the two teams made and the Bryce Young, the Caleb angle, all that. I'm intrigued if T-Mac can be like the real deal for them.
Yeah.
Because I'm a pretty big McMillan guy, and if he's the real deal, then they may have salvaged Bryce Young, at least to be solid. I don't know if like elite is ever on the table for him, but I think that McMillan pick is like, all right, Bryce, like we're giving you every opportunity here to kind of be our firm starter moving forward. So definitely keeping an eye on that.
Should get Jonathan Brooks back to pair with Chuba Hubbard. Like
they also drafted Trevor Etienne. He can catch the ball out of the backfield.
Yeah. Selfishly for the Seahawks, Nick Immanwari. I think that could be a fun one in McDonald's defense, but. Again, a lot of different rookies, a lot of different aspects of every team. So, yeah, good question.
Speaking of running backs, do the Bears need to add one? Type Y for yes, type N for no. What do you guys think? Make this the poll question. Go vote there as well. Get a few shout-outs, then we'll talk about another topic here in just a second.
We got Cornelius saying yes, Lloyd saying yes, Johnny saying no, Tom saying yes, Doug saying yes, Erica saying yes. LaCour says yes if Rojo's traded. Ben a Bears fan says no. DC Viper says yes.
I don't think they would move one of their current backs and then go acquire a back. I think if anything, they would acquire one and then at the end of camp, they would either try to trade one off or just cut one.
Yeah. Brandon says no. King Kyle will prevail.
Let's go, Manon guy.
Bears fan for life says no. Radness says yes. Jose says no. Brandon says yes. Ben a Bears fan, no. Robert says yes.
Levante says Travis Etienne. No, I think, is it his brother or cousin?
I think it's brother, Trevor.
His brother is Trevor. I believe the Panthers were the team that drafted him, right?
I
think
so.
they were. Some people do think Travis could get traded though, Cullen, because they drafted 2 running backs. Yeah. They drafted
Bashal
Tootin and LaQuinn Allen, another Cullen draft crush.
Yeah, so Etienne's on the Panthers. Is he? Just double checking.
Believe he is.
And he is the brother. He's the younger brother of Travis Etienne. Yeah, Etienne really kind of fell off last season. I wouldn't be shocked if Jaguars look to pivot in a new direction, especially under a new head coach. So,
yeah, that wouldn't be shocking.
We'll see.
All right, let's get to this story. Our guy Slick Rick, a.k.a. Ricky Scoop, says the Bears are on the verge of signing a 2-year contract with Joe Thuney. Ricky's had a lot of scoops over the past couple of years. Sometimes he's been wrong, but this isn't exactly some like crazy report / prediction. I mean, Ryan Poles called it a priority after the draft to get a Thuney deal done, so that could be imminent. My only question here is do they tear up the final year of his current contract and just give him a brand new 2-year deal, or is this a 2-year extension on top of his 1-year, $16 million remaining contract? I would hope extension, but depending on the structure, either way is fine. If it is an extension, Cullen, it would line him up contractually with both Drew Dahlman and Jonah Jackson. So all 3 of your interior starters would be under contract through 2027, and likely, I would assume, based on the structures, with outs for each of them after 2026 with minimal penalties. So we'll see if this comes in. I've kind of thrown out like 2 for 40, 2 for 42 in terms of an extension for Joe Thuney. That puts him kind of right at or near the top of the guard market, which he still plays at. But obviously at 32 years old, I don't think you have to like give him, reset the market by $3 million or something. I think you could give him like top 3-4 guard money and call it a day. But we'll see what they do here. I do think this likely happens in the near future. This was the projection I had for Thuney. 2 for 42. Maybe it's 2 for 45. Who knows when it comes to Joe Thuney. But I do think this is going to get done. And based on only drafting Ozzie Trapillo, who projects more as a tackle, I don't see why you wouldn't lock up Joe Thuney and just not even worry about that heading into training camp.
Agreed. I mean, like you said, the biggest telltale, I think, in general, is that word priority. Like Bowles, he doesn't throw that word around often, and I think this could get done, relatively possibly tonight. It could get done tomorrow. I mean, it could get done this week, very soon. So keep your eyes out on that, because as soon as that news drops, we guys will have you covered. If it happens during this live, we will have you covered.
Well, and if you're Joe Thuney also, I mean, you'd probably just want this done before OTAs, because then you don't even have to worry about it. He wants to get ingrained with his new teammates and everything, so no reason to wait if both sides are comfortable with the deal. If you want the Bears to extend Joe Thuney, type me in the chat. I definitely want to get it done. Seems like the Bears want to get it done. I'm sure Joe Thuney wants that security, financial security for the next few years as well. So, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. I think you could argue, Colin, right now he's the best player on your football team. Now, you're hoping long-term that's not the case, but this year it's very possible he's just the best pure player on the roster. I mean, he's been the best guard in the league for a few years now, so, or at least one of them. So
I'd still go Jalen Johnson, but Joe Thuney's,
it's right there.
He's right there.
One of the best.
One of the best. So, all right, I'll give some shout-outs here. Shout-out to Brian, Benjamin, Brandon, Colton, Kenny, Tom, Johnny, Cornelius, Benjamin, Caden, David, Jose, Kenny, Robert, Doug, Corey, Dobsy, Johnny, been a Bears fan since 3, KO 509, Eileen. Walter Caldwell says, what's up, bro? What up, Walter? Z Ganji says me. Tony Rio says me. Kenny Adams says FGB. That's always welcomed here. Flanker234. Kenny Adams says FGB. Again, shout out to y'all in the chat.
Let's go. Keep typing me in the comments. All right, we got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and roll on in here. Hit that like button if you love the Bears and want the bulk of today's live show to start. Almost 500 people watching, so let's get some more likes in here. We would greatly appreciate it. Here's what we got coming up on Chicago Bears Now. Was Luther Burden the third, the steal of the draft? We'll dive into that. We'll continue to take some questions, hashtag Bears or Super Chat, to get your questions answered here on the show. And then we're going to explore some running back targets via free agency and trade. So don't go anywhere. Lots to get into here on Chicago Bears Now, so stay with us. Was Luther Burden III the steal of the 2025 NFL Draft? We're going to talk about that here on Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Thanks for everybody tuning in to today's show. And let me just ask you guys, are you excited? Are you fired up to watch Luther Burden in this offense? Because to me, he's a great fit for what Ben Johnson has said he wants in his weaponry, wide receiver room, whatever you want to call it. Hit that like button if you're fired up to watch Luther Burden. Okay, Matt Miller, ESPN draft analyst, who, quite frankly, was all over what the Bears were trying to do. He had Colston Loveland higher on his personal board, but also he thought the Bears would have them higher, and then he was all over this Burden pick as well. He put out an article of his 100 favorite picks in the NFL draft this year, and he had Luther Burden to the Bears as his number one favorite pick. He said, Burden was my top wide receiver in the class. I'm counting Travis Hunter as a two-way player. And he landed in a great situation with the Bears and Coach Ben Johnson. Burden's yards after the catch ability is terrific, and Johnson's scheme has been elite at creating space for wide receivers. Burden likely starts as a slot receiver with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze flanking him, but he thrived in that alignment at Missouri. So Matt Miller had Burden as his 13th overall prospect. I thought Burden was a top 20 guy from just a football player standpoint. That was like, top 20, top 25 at the worst, because his production decreased this year, which we'll get into that here in a little bit. But he's a dynamic player with the ball in his hands. I thought he was the best player in this draft. Just get him the ball and let him go. Regardless of position, I thought he was the best at that. And in today's NFL, more and more teams are just looking for that, right? Like, of course, you love the route running technicians, which I think he's an above average route runner. You like the big body guys, but more so than anything, the quick game is what most of the good offenses utilize the most. So just get guys who can be mismatches and go after the catch. And that is Luther Burden in a nutshell. And remember, Ben Johnson, the new Bears head coach, at the owners' meetings basically said, we want guys who can be explosive after the catch. Obviously, DJ Moore's a guy who can do that. I think Zacchaeus gives you a little bit of that. I think that's part of why they signed him as well, to be a rotation guy who can give you some juice after the catch. But Luther Burden, that is him to a T. Honestly, I'm a little upset at myself that we didn't talk a little more about Luther Burden pre-draft. I just didn't think they'd get him because, like I've alluded to on prior episodes, the Bears picked at 10 and 39. I thought he'd be in that gap in between. I thought he'd go as high as, 15, 16, as low as late first round. I did not expect him to be available at 39. Even if he was available day 2, I thought, okay, Tennessee's picking at 35. Patriots are at 34. They both need receivers. They'll take him, but there he was, sitting at 39. Oh, we get the best yak receiver in the draft, which is exactly what our head coach wants in his receivers. Yep, we're going to take that guy, even though it's kind of a luxury premium pick. But he's the best player available, and he does a lot of the things we like in our receivers. So now when you look at this room, you got a lot of guys who can make things happen after the catch. And I do think it really clears up, too, why they didn't bring back Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is a savvy veteran. He's a good route runner. He's still a productive player. He gives you no juice after the catch at this point in his career. He is catch, maybe gets a couple yards, and he's tackled. He doesn't want to play through contact, which, hey, I don't blame him. He's 32, 33 years old. DJ Moore, one of the best guys after the catch. Luther Burden, best in this draft after it. Zacchaeus gives you that. Rome, for his size, is actually pretty fluid out in space. So you got multiple guys who can win in space, not only with the route running and the technique, but just, hey, quick screen, quick curl, just go, catch and go. And not only is that what a lot of teams are doing in today's NFL, but it's going to help out your quarterback, Caleb Williams. Like, hey, identify the matchup, get the ball to your guy in space. It's going to be very difficult for teams to defend DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Luther Burden. And, oh, by the way, Colston Loveland, who could separate if they're all on the field at the same time. Like, that is going to be a challenge. So even though it's a luxury pick, it was a BPA pick, and it's a pick of a guy that fills a skill set that Ben Johnson covets heavily. I love the pick, and so does Matt Miller. Who do you guys think is better long-term on this team? Who do you think ends up being a bigger playmaker in this offense? Type RO for Rome Odunze, LB for Luther Burden III. I think Odunze is a more complete player, but Burden, especially with what Johnson has done historically, I would not be shocked if he was the answer. The good news is both these guys have a chance to be really, really good. Okay. Marcus Mosher, I want to give him credit for this. I thought this was a good find. Here is the list of every SEC receiver to post 1,200 or more yards during their freshman or sophomore season. Jamar Chase, Alshon Jeffrey, Mike Evans, Jerry Jeudy, A.J. Brown, Luther Burden. That's a pretty goddamn good list. Excuse my French. If his floor of production is Jerry Jeudy, who the last couple of years has kind of really come into his own, sign me up. Now, it's no guarantee that that's his floor, but that's a pretty exclusive list. Like, it is very difficult to be a dominant playmaker in the SEC as a freshman or a sophomore. It just is. It's the closest thing to the NFL that exists in college football. So for Luther Burden in his sophomore year to be a dominant player at Missouri, by the way, most of those other guys play at like Bama or LSU, that's pretty darn impressive. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Plus, why did Burden's production dip in his junior season? I think there's one big reason, but a couple of smaller reasons that probably come into play as well. But first, got to tell you about our sponsor on today's show. That is Rocket Money. Head over to rocketmoney.com/bears now to get started with the best personal finance app that can help you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and help lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. With prices going up on just about everything lately, being smart with your money isn't just a good idea, it's essential. But managing subscriptions, tracking spending, cutting costs can feel overwhelming, trust me. I got a 2-year-old. We pay for his daycare. We got a house mortgage. It's tough to figure out what you are willing to spend your money on. But lucky for you, and lucky for me and my wife, Rocket Money takes the guesswork out of it so you can easily make those smart decisions. Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all of your accounts, so you can figure out, okay, I want to cut back in this area. I don't want to spend this much on food or travel, whatever the case may be. It's very, very user-friendly. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 per year when they use all of the app's premium features. So stop waiting, cancel your unwanted subscriptions today, and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. All you got to do is go to rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. Rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. It's going to redirect you to the App Store and download the app. If you use our link, it really supports the show. If you're a fan of this show and want to get on top of your finances, head over to rocketmoney.com/bearsnow and get started with Rocket Money today. Okay, continuing with this Luther Burden-themed episode of why I think he was the steal of the draft. Matt Miller does as well. So why did the production dip in 2024? I'll just show you the numbers right here. Receptions, down 25, right? 86 2 years ago. Obviously played one more game, so that plays a little bit of a role. 61 last year. Yards, 1,200 and change, 676. I'm not as concerned about the touchdowns, 9-6. Average, that stands out, obviously. Not as much explosiveness from Burden this past year. I think there's one main reason. I don't think it's the only reason, but I think it's that Brady Cook, Missouri's quarterback, who played pretty well in 2023. I watched him in that year and last year. He fell off a cliff last year. I mean, I don't even think the stats do it justice. Brady Cook was kind of viewed as a rising senior last year, like, oh, maybe he could be like a day 2 draft pick. He's got good size, he can move around, solid arm. Just did not play well. Did not play well, despite Mizzou having a pretty good offensive line, despite having Luther Burden, one of the most juiced-up receivers in the NFL. The run game wasn't as good, so that probably played a role. But he just wasn't as good. So is it that simple? Brady Cook didn't play as well, so Burden's production fell off. I don't think it's that simple. I do think it's the primary reason that, and this happens in college football all the time, right? Like in the NFL, even the not so good quarterbacks are still like decent, right? In college football, you get bad QB play, there's almost nothing you can do. It's just the variance is so wide in college football that it can really impact the skill players around them. Now, I do think there are other things that we should at least acknowledge that were out there. There were pre-draft whispers. I know McShay mentioned this, a couple other small reports that you heard that, and I do want to use whispers. This is not, I don't think, to a James Cook level or even a Walter Nolan, but that Luther Burden's attitude just wasn't great last season. Did he fully mail it in? I don't think that's fair to say, but, Mizzou wasn't having as good of a season. It was clear pretty early they weren't going to be a playoff team. Maybe he was looking ahead to the NFL. That's possible, and I'm not excusing that whatsoever. Like, you got to be locked in. You got to be a mature guy. But that could have led to him dipping in production, perhaps dipping a little bit in the NFL draft. So I do want to acknowledge those things. Maybe the route running got a little lazy. I think McShay mentioned, like, the second half of the Bama game, he kind of mailed it in. It's like, well, Brady Cook's throwing hospital balls, and they're down 30. But I hear you. Let's run that full dig down 38-10. But again, not excusing it, but I do think there were frustrating circumstances for the Mizzou receiving corps last year. Here's the bottom line. Luther Burden's talent is undeniable. Again, you go for 1,200 plus as a sophomore in the SEC, you're doing something right. He's extremely good after the catch. I think when he's locked in, his route running is above average with room to grow there. I think there needs some refinement on the details there. I don't think he's ever going to be like Devontae Adams as a route runner, but I think he can be above average. And I think what's special to me when it comes to Luther Burden is his ability to turn on the brakes, to decelerate and then reaccelerate at his size. Guys, he's 206 pounds. He can do it so well. Guys who move and change direction like that, they're usually like 175 pounds. Or like Kavonte Turpin with the Cowboys or someone like that. This guy does it at 200 plus. So he's got a unique skill set in that way, and he fits Ben Johnson's offense. Even if it's not going to look exactly like Detroit, the ability to get explosives after the catch, turn 6-yard passes into 30 plus, he can do that really, really well. And I think that will translate to the NFL. If there's a maturity thing that needs to come, okay. I think Antoine Randall is a good coach to have. to be in his ear. He helped Jamison Williams improve. To me, if this guy locks in, really commits, and buys in to being on a team that has a chance to be really good, I think there is no limit to what he could be as a player in the NFL. I think he has all-pro potential. Maybe he's just a role player. It's up to him, in my opinion, to find out how good he ends up being in the NFL. Do you guys want more breakdown of some of the Bears draft picks? That was kind of a little breakdown analysis of Luther Burden III, potentially the steal of the NFL draft. If you enjoyed this video and want more of it, hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of the episode. We'll be back with more Bears content. All right, continuing with our live show here. Jason says, love the show. Always hear Homer mentioned as a great special team, and that's his value. What does that mean? LOL, what amazing things has he done on special teams? Well, he's not like a returner, right? So when us as, average football fans, when you think special teams, you think like Devin Hester, returner, or like awesome kicker, right? Like Adam Vinatieri or whatever the case may be. But you think of who was the guy with the Patriots for years?
Matthew Slater.
Like Matthew Slater, right? He was a gunner, is what the position is called. He's lined up on kick and punt team, punt specifically, both return and away. And his job is to beat his man down the sideline, essentially, and go make the tackle. He's one of the best of all time to do it. Travis Homer is a core special teams guy because he does dirty work on special teams. He's a willing tackler. He can run. They clearly value him in that way. Now, I'm not an expert on the ins and outs of all 11 players on special teams, but clearly he's not I would say he's not an NFL caliber running back. That's not a knock on Travis Homer. I just don't think that's his skill set. You don't last this long with multiple organizations unless you're a tremendous special teams player. And on top of that, I think a locker room guy. Clearly these teams like him. Coaches like him. So I know it's kind of a cliche calling like, core special teams guy, but I think that's kind of what he is. I mean, when they brought him back, I was like, that's Richard Hightower. That's Richard Hightower. And by the way, when you have the 5th ranked special teams unit in DVOA, I'm willing to give my special teams coach 4 or 5 players. Hey, give us 5 guys you want us to sign on a 53-man roster. There's a chance one of them gets cut depending on what happens, but you're going to get your group of guys that you can work with. So no issue with that whatsoever. I just don't really want him seeing the field offensively unless it's a dire situation.
Yeah, and I think, like you mentioned, he's done it at multiple organizations, right? We've always talked about his kind of reputation, at least as a pass protector, like getting in pass pro, not afraid to lower the shoulder.
That is one thing he can do, if you have to put him on the field.
Yeah, he's not afraid to lower his shoulder and protect the quarterback, which is valuable in some aspect, although it does limit, what, teams can view of you and kind of gives a telltale to certain signs. But like you mentioned, Harry, on special teams, very valuable, okay? If you think of the Bears and, their punting situations, you obviously don't want to get your punt blocked and everything. And Travis Homer's a guy that's proven, again, over years of his career, he's capable of doing that. That's why, to me, the floor for Kyle Monungai, because of his ability to kind of be that kind of pass pro, is a guy like Travis Homer, a guy that he will get carries and get snaps late into his career because he's willing to do the little things. That's how Travis Homer's been able to survive this many years out of Miami. He's a guy that's just willing to do the little things. So it's just more or less, like you said, a locker room guy, willing to do the little things, willing to get in there and block, especially at his size. He's not the biggest guy in the world either. No. So, that's basically just the kind of the sum up of everything.
Yeah, not only is he good on special teams, he embraces being that guy because he knows he's likely unemployed if he's not that. So, it's so that's really the explanation. Cornelius, by week 6, Rome will be the clear number 1 receiver. I could see it. Would not surprise me whatsoever. Sitch Lover says, WTF Bears fans finally have a good receiving weapons after all these years, and some want to trade DJ and Kmet. Tampa trying to trade Evans, Godwin, Igbuka. I hear what you're saying. I don't think either of those guys would get moved right now. I think there is a somewhat logical thought to have, though, Colin. If Luther Burden shows a lot this year, if Colson Loveland shows a lot this year, it opens that door to move DJ or Kmet if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to move them while they're still young and have trade value, you could do that. Again, I'm not advocating for that, but what if Luther Burden has 1,000 yards as a rookie? I mean, if you could get DJ Moore, a second-round pick for DJ Moore, would you consider it? I would guess you would at least take that call. That's how teams are run. I mean, they're always looking to combine the present with the future, and that's something Poles has talked about a lot. So, again, would I bet on it today that those guys are off this team next year? No, I wouldn't. But would it shock me? It's a greater than 0% chance. I can promise you that, just based on how their contracts are structured. Like they can move both those players next year with relatively small dead cap penalty.
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing or the word that I would use is flexibility. I mean, ultimately, you have 5 now legitimate, or at least on paper, weapons that Caleb Williams could use in the pass game, not to mention DeAndre Swift and whoever they come out of the backfield. So, look, for a simple scenario, let's say DJ Moore, regresses this year and Rome Odunze does become that wide receiver 1. I mean, do you maybe sit there and think, okay, like if DJ's not the greatest run blocker and, committed to what Ben Johnson maybe is doing, maybe you do look to move off. I'm not saying that will happen, but again, it's just a scenario. What if Colston Loveland really shows his value and is just, out the gates, running Cole Kmet just kind of off the field, so to speak? I mean, do you kind of sit there and say, hey, look, Cole Kmet's still a starting tight end in the NFL, but we don't really have a role for him here. Do you try to move on from him? So, I mean, it's ultimately flexibility. And again, it's not even a guarantee. We hope so, knock on wood, that Loveland and Burton are going to be hits as prospects. But again, having that flexibility and being able to say, okay, look, we're going to have that open competition. May the cream rise to the crop, and then, for the rest of the guys, see where we go from here after the season.
Yeah, because I think the Kmet one's an interesting one. Because, let's say if by Halloween or Thanksgiving it's like, okay, it's clear Loveland is a better player. Like, yes, Ben Johnson uses 12 personnel a lot, and he probably will continue to do so, regardless of if Kmet is here or not. But, do you want your number 2 tight end costing $11-12 million bucks? Like, again, this is all like a roster construction, math game, right? Because Colston Loveland is the number 10 pick, he's going to cost, $8-9 million bucks per year? So, do you want your tight end, your top two tight ends costing $20 million? I'm okay with it if both are productive, but, I could see the Bears looking at that and being like, hey, we like Cole a lot. He's a starter in this league, but he's not a starter for us, and we don't want our number 2 guy making $11-12 million bucks. Again, these are just, scenarios that you could envision playing out depending on what happens this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's also one of those things where, I remember going into last season, right? You added Keenan Allen, you added Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, you have DeAndre Swift coming out of the backfield, and, we were talking about, oh my God, there's going to be so many different weapons that Caleb Williams could throw to, and then oftentimes there were stretches and sometimes games where certain players would get left out of the offense, and we would be sitting there like, why isn't DJ getting involved? Why isn't Rome getting the ball? Why isn't we haven't seen Cole Kmet for a few games, and it's just, again, different offensive scheme, different offensive play calling, all that stuff, and you would think Ben Johnson knows the best way to use it. But, yeah, I mean, it's not a guarantee that all 5 guys are going to thrive, in the passing game. Again, Caleb's still got to ascend and get to that level to where he can, fully distribute everything. That's the hope, but, again, it's not a guarantee at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the best QBs in league history, if they have, let's say all 5 of these players are awesome, and the 5 we're talking about are DJ, Rome, Burden, Loveland, and Kmet. Tom Brady in his prime probably isn't having 5 800-yard plus weapons. It's just not that realistic. A more realistic scenario is 2 have pretty damn big years, 1 or 2 more have pretty good years, and then one's kind of just squeezed out, right? Maybe that's Burden. He's a rookie wide receiver. Maybe he has 400 yards or something. Maybe that's Cole Kmet. Maybe Loveland passes him, and Kmet's just kind of he's a 350, 400-yard guy, and they utilize him more as a blocker. Certainly a possibility. So, I don't think you're going to see, okay, between those 5 guys, the peak guy has right at 1,000, and the 5th guy has 700. I doubt you're going to have 5 guys within 300 yards of each other. That would be pretty surprising. So, we'll see how it plays out. We'll see how teams defend this offense. We'll see how Caleb ascends. We'll see what Ben Johnson, how he attacks these defenses. But, yeah, I mean, it's a good problem to have. That's for sure. Adam Downing, after this one, we'll just hop into after the next one, we'll hop into the mailbag. He says, I know they'll never do it, but what if the NFL did a pick bowl where the winner of the worst two teams gets first overall. I wouldn't mind I used to be against the NFL going to a draft lottery, Colin, but I think I'd be okay with it. The more I've thought about it. Now, I don't think you do a full, what does the NBA do, 13 teams?
14, yeah.
I think you do like 4 or 5. I don't think you, like, maybe it varies year to year. Like, okay, if depending on, like this year would have been a good example, right? Where you had more teams who had 5 wins or less. Like the Bears won 5 games this year, but they picked 9th. So like,
you mean 10th?
10th. So if you had, so maybe this year it's like, okay, if you had 4 wins or less, you're in the lottery, right? Whatever that cutoff is, maybe it's 5 teams plus tiebreakers. Like what's it in golf? Like the top 50 make the cut, but it's really top 50 plus whoever's tied for 50th, essentially. I wouldn't mind it.
I'm kind of a stickler in this regard. I'd rather them kind of keep the way they do it now. I just think it makes the most sense. Like, I kind of like the NBA the way they do it because of the amount of games and everything. And, like, the NFL's short life, like, for me personally, because there's, like, so few mini games, and again, certain teams, like, they know they're not going to compete and everything. Like, I just kind of prefer the way the NFL does it. And, I like the way the NBA does it too, but I kind of want two worlds where, like, one does it one way and the other one does it the other way. Because I like both scenarios, and I think the NFL does a good job of it. Now, granted, does it suck? Yes, when you have, like, a Houston Texans situation back in the day when they're kind of, like, starting Davis Webb or whomever, just trying to get the number 1 pick. Yeah, like, that's not good for football.
The Bears did it. They started Nathan Peterman and rotated in Tim Boyle a few years ago, which I get why they did it. But.
Right. I just, like I said, that's just my own personal preference. I understand people who feel differently about it. I like the ability of having both because I think the NBA does a great job of the lottery and how they do it, but I don't think, like, the NFL, like, I'm cool with the NFL having their version of it, I guess makes sense.
Yeah, the only reason I'd be open to it is, one, I think the compromise would be you don't do, like, 14 teams or whatever. I think you do, like, 5, right? And 2, how many years, like, the Jags are always picking high because they always suck. Like, should they always just get the number 1 pick or whatever? Like, I know they didn't have the number 1 pick this year, but you get my point. Like, it's always the same teams at the top. It's like, well, maybe there should be a small lottery. So it's like, okay, you've had chance after chance to pick high. You still stink. So, if a good team, like, I don't know, the Niners this year isn't a great example because there was too many teams ahead of them. But, like, in a normal year, them going 6-11, they might have had, like, the 6th pick. So if they're in a lottery and they get the number 1 pick, it's like, well, hey, it's not Cleveland again because it's always Cleveland. So just a thought. I doubt they'll ever do it, but it would be interesting if they did. All right, after this one, we're going to hop into a mailbag. Shout out to Bear Down from H-Town. He says she's here. Congratulations. Another member of Chicago Bears now. We appreciate it. First of all, you didn't need to donate, but shout out to you and yours. Hope your other half had a relatively smooth process. It's obviously a stressful time, but congratulations, and tell everyone involved that Harrison and Cullen from Bears Now shout you out. So appreciate you chiming in and letting us know that sounds like all went well, and it's just beginning. That's all I'll say. 2 years and change in. It's every stage is different, but it's fun. So congratulations, and thanks for tuning in as always.
Yeah. Credit to you. Happy for you. It's a huge thing. Obviously, I haven't had the pleasure of doing that yet, but from everything that I've heard from people that had kids, it's the biggest blessing that they've ever had. So. Yeah, congrats to you, man. Again, you need a super chat, but thank you so much for supporting the show. Me and Harry echo those sentiments that we wish you the best. And just make sure the first bit of gear she's wearing is Bears gear, not Saints gear. I know it's a house divided in that household. So
yeah, well, let's set the tone early.
Yeah.
Let's set the tone early. But shout out to you and yours, man, and we appreciate you tuning in. Okay, we'll go Dennis here. #Bears super chat. We'll get into a longer structured mailbag here. He says the core will stay together till we pay Caleb/Rome. Certainly a possibility. And look, if you want to maximize Caleb's rookie window, I would expect DJ and Cole to be here after this year. I certainly do sense that. But is there a world where they get through this season, they're like, okay, Caleb's here, he's arrived. We really need a big-time defensive player, so we're going to pivot off of one of these offensive guys, and we're going to go take a swing and a trade at I'm just throwing out a name. Like, I expect Dallas to pay Micah Parsons, but whoever the player is, right? Like, you never know. Like, that certainly is a possibility. So we'll have to, or even just like a high draft pick. Like, hey, let's get more ammunition to go up and get the next Abdul Carter, whoever that is. So time will tell. Time will tell. Hashtag Bears Super Chat. Load up your questions. You can ask about the upcoming season, free agency, trade ideas, schedule. Schedule comes out a week from Wednesday. That'll be fun. Be fun. We haven't gone live the last couple years. I was kind of thinking it'd be kind of fun to go live. We'll see what we do. I don't know yet, but stay tuned, and it is mailbag time. So fire away, hashtag Bears or Super Chat. I'm Harrison Graham. It's time for another mailbag episode here on Bears Now by Chat Sports. We start with Bear Down 85 out of DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, and Cole Kmet. How would you rank who has the most production this year? It's a really interesting question. It's a good thought. Just off the cuff, and I saw this question in our comments, so I was able to kind of throw this together real quick. I'll just, gut feeling says this. I would guess DJ has the most production. Now, that may not mean he's the top receiver. Like, I know that's kind of a weird comment, but I could see, like, Rome being, by the end of the year, like, okay, he's the number one, but DJ had more volume, more production. That would be my guess. Him 1, Rome 2, Burden 3, Colston Loveland 4, although I thought about having him 3, Burden 4, Cole Kmet 5. And that's not a knock on Cole Kmet. I just think the other 4 guys fit a Ben Johnson offense better in terms of, like, receiving weapon. Like, Colston Loveland, smooth athlete, can separate easier as a route runner. DJ and Luther, really good after the catch, with Johnson covets. And then Odunze just is kind of your most complete, polished receiver. I could see that playing out like that. But as we've heard and as I would expect, roles are going to be earned, not given. No block, no rock. So, like, if you see some lazy blocking for some guys early in the year, they might get phased out a little bit. So I think it's going to be week to week. I don't think you'll see, like, 6-week stretches where 5 out of the 6 games it's one guy. I think, like, over the course of 17 games, you might have 5 different guys lead the team in receiving. 6 different guys. Maybe like DeAndre Swift has a huge game out of the backfield one week. So going to be fun to watch. They got a lot of different weapons and different personnel groupings they can throw at teams. We just got to see if these guys reach their potential. And obviously if Caleb Williams can ascend to the next level where he's getting these guys the ball early and often. If you had to predict it today, who will lead the Bears in receiving this year? And I'll just say yards. Most receiving yards this year, obviously there's catches, targets, touchdowns, all that stuff. But most yards on the Bears this year, I'll lean DJ Moore, but it would not shock me if it was someone else. I'll put it this way. If it's DJ or the field, I would take the field. But if I had to pick one guy, I would say DJ Moore. Okay, been a Bears fan since 3. It'd be fun to see Burden used as a gadget player or Debo type of player. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I think they will manufacture touches for him. Now, I don't think he'll only be a gadget player. Like, I don't think this is Velus Jones. Like, I think Luther Burden can run routes. They ran a lot of, like, slot fades and wheels with him out of the slot at Missouri, and he consistently won on those. I don't think he's going to run the full route tree, but I think he's got enough in his bag already where they can utilize him option routes out of the slot as well. But yeah, I think you'll see him on jet sweeps. You'll see him line up in the backfield every once in a while and maybe get a toss or something like that. So I think this is a guy who's super dynamic with the ball in his hands, and it would be silly to not just generate easy touches for him regardless of, like, a standard passing play. So yeah, I do think that'll be part of his arsenal, but I don't think it'll be his full arsenal. Okay, Colton Steen, the Bears wide receiver room is a top blank in the NFL right now. Try not to fall into that trap, because how many times last year did we say, on paper, this is a top trio in the league, and it was just solid with DJ, Rome, and Keenan. I think the potential is for it to be one of the best, but I don't know. I'll just say safely it's a top 10 receiver room. But I'm not going to throw a number on it in terms of like it's the best or the third best. Like let's start with top 10, top 12, and go from there. To quote Ben Johnson, we got to go out there and prove it. So let's see where that goes. Okay, you want to prove it on Prize Picks? Put your money where your mouth is. Do so with the best daily fantasy sports app out there. That is, of course, Prize Picks. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. It's the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. That's right. You can turn $10 into $2,000 with certain lineups with Prize Picks today. Turn your playoff hot takes into tickets to basketball's championship series. Starting with the playing round. Now you're moving on here. Every lineup you make on Prize Picks will enter you in the Takes 2 ticket sweepstakes, which could get you and a +1, a VIP trip to the ship. So that's a pretty cool opportunity as well. Millions of users are playing Prize Picks. You should get in on the action. It's simple. Set a lineup of 2 or more players. Pick more or less. Season-long football stats available. That number for Caleb Williams keeps going down. 3350? You kidding me? Give me the more on that all day. He cleared that by more than or just about 200 yards last season, and this offense is going to be much better. Devontae Adams, I love this one too. More than 949.5 receiving yards with Matt Stafford. I think he had over 1,100 with the Jets last year, more than 1,100. So check that out today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a $50 bonus when you sign up and play right now. It's PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Go ahead and get started today. Okay, Ricky Ricardo, which free agent linebacker would you add? I've mentioned Juwan Bentley. I don't think C.J. Mosley's coming here. Could a guy like Kaiser White make some sense? There's a few names out there, but Bentley would be the player I would look at, but we'll see where it goes. Tom, can they have a winning record in the NFC North in the 6 games? Could they? Yes. Would I bet on it today? Probably not. My gut tells me they're going to go 500 in the division. And quite frankly, I'd probably take that. Like, if I could sign up for 3-3 in the NFC North today, I would probably do it. So, can't go worse than 2-4. But if you could get to 3-3 or better, I think you'd be a pretty happy customer. All right, let's get to 123,000 subscribers. We are oh so close to making that happen. We're 53 subs away. If you want daily Bears content all off season long, hit that subscribe button. DC Viper, what would be the trade offer for a guy like Zach Charbonnet or Breece Hall? Do you think you can get him for a 3rd or a 4th? Well, I'm not paying a 3rd or a 4th for Charbonnet, so that's off the table already. I think I would offer a 6 and maybe consider a 5. Breece Hall, I don't think I'd offer a 3rd for him either. I could probably go to a 4 for Breece. He's pretty dynamic as both a runner and a pass catcher. Charbonnet can catch the ball as well. But I think out of those 2 guys, Breece Hall is probably the only guy who's got true 3-down back upside. I think Charbonnet in a pairing with Swift could be pretty effective, but certainly not giving a 3. If I'm giving up a 3 or a 4, I got to get a pick back. If I'm giving up a 3, I want at least a 5 back. If I'm giving up a 4, I'd probably want a 6 back. So, that's probably where I'm at. I like both players. I think both would fit well in this scheme. But Breece Hall, final year of his rookie deal. Charbonnet's never really been a lead back in the NFL, at least for more than a few weeks at a time. So, that's kind of my thoughts. Lacora, predict Luther Burden's 2025 stats. 58 receptions, 782 yards, 7 touchdowns. I'd sign up for that today, I think, especially if he's your true number 3. That would top what Adunze did last year. I think Rome had like 50-something for 703 and 3 touchdowns. So you'd more than double the touchdowns and have a little bit more yardage. So, yeah, I think I would do that right there because you're probably going to get a little rushing value too. Like you'll probably get, 10 to 20 rushing plays for Burden just on jet sweeps, occasional, creative plays out of the backfield. So, yeah, if you get an extra 100 yards on the ground, maybe you're looking at 850, 900 in your scenario. Maybe you get an extra touchdown, 8 touchdowns. That'd be a hell of a rookie year in a crowded offense. Okay, more or less prize pick style. The Bears will win 8.5 games this year. Type M for more or L for less. That's been the number that's been thrown out there. I'm hoping more. Schedule could be tough. We'll find out the schedule next week. Levante Rogers, Travis Etienne, Ramondre Stevenson, or Jordan Mason as a June 1 cut casualty for the Bears. Well, Mason's not going anywhere. Him and Aaron Jones are the primary backs in Minnesota, so Mason's not getting cut. I mean, they traded a pick for him, so that's not happening. I think I would take Stevenson over Etienne. He's a more physical downhill back. Etienne and I think Swift are pretty damn similar. They're finesse guys who get caught chasing the home run too much. Call me crazy. I think Swift actually might be a little better than Etienne. So I would go Stevenson out of that group. I like Jordan Mason, but I don't think he's freeing up. Jordan Novomeski, he says, where will the defense rank as a unit in the NFL? I think on the low end, it's probably middle of the pack. But I still think this could be a top 10 unit. There's a lot of talent on that side. Now, I'm not quite as, this could be a top 5 unit like I was heading into last year. Still have questions about the overall pass rush and that, the secondary has some questions. Are your safeties going to stay healthy? If they are, how high of a level is Kevin Byard playing at 32? Can Brisker stay on the field? That's obviously a big question. And does Tyreek Stevenson kind of reestablish himself as a reliable number 2 corner? And if he can't, do you have someone that can? Can Terrell Smith or Zay Frazier do that? I like a lot of the talent on the defense. I'm a big fan of the Dennis Allen pickup. I think he could help cover up some potential deficiencies with just his aggressive nature. So I think it'll be a good unit. I'm not ready to say it's going to be an elite unit. So I don't know, somewhere between 8 and 15 overall is probably where I fall. Like if this unit really hits, probably back into the top 10. And if it's, if it underwhelms a little bit, I still think you're probably looking, 13 to 16, somewhere in there. All right, appreciate all the questions. Give me a follow on social media at HGramNFL on Twitter, same handle on Instagram. It's at HGramNFL. We'll continue to pump out content for you guys. And if you didn't get your question answered, you can ask me over there. Bear down. Okay, let's get some shout-outs on this. More or less, what do you guys think?
Fine.
Alan says I got him at 10-7, still maybe 4th. I don't think 10-7 is 4th in the division. I'm kind of on this take, Colin, with the NFC North. I think you're not going to see a 15-win team again. 1, the division's too tough, and 2, the crossover division this year is the AFC North. Like you're gonna lose some games that division. The NFC North is.
Yeah.
And like if you're Detroit, you're playing a first place schedule. Minnesota's playing a second place schedule. Like you're just like 12-5 is a hell of a year. Like you're probably not going to see a 15-2 team.
Right.
I think 12 wins probably wins the division. But I could see like the floor, like the Bears won 5 games last year, but the other 3 teams were all over 11. I could see the floor being like 8-9, 7-10. Like I think they'll be more bunched together this year between 7 and 12 wins, all 4 teams. That would be my guess. Even though I think the division will be probably just as good as last year, I just think last year was kind of an anomaly where the top 2 teams won 14-plus games. Like that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll come out and flat out say it. The Lions will not be as good in the regular season this year as they were last year.
Agreed.
You don't lose both coordinators and continue just to, as if nothing happened, just kind of keep riding off sets. Now, they, had a pretty solid draft. They added some interesting pieces, but I don't think they're going to be number 1 NFC, that level, like, what was it, 15 wins they won last year? I mean, like, that just seems ridiculous.
I feel like if you're the Lions, don't you think, like, best case scenario is, and I still think Detroit's good, by the way.
Oh, yeah, they're a fine team.
Don't you think best case scenario is, like, the defense improves just because chances are you'll be healthier. Mm-hmm. So even though you lost Aaron Glenn, a good coordinator, like, you could actually be better if you just stay relatively healthy. But I don't see a scenario where the offense doesn't take at least, I don't know, a 10% hit. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll say this. If the offense is just as good and explosive, like, that's a credit to the overall talent they have, Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, because that seems Like Jared Goff has played at a fringe top 5 level the last 2 years. Is that going to continue with the new play call? That's a tough ask.
100%. And then you think about the Vikings, right? And again, the Vikings were kind of written off last year as kind of the predicted 4th place team. They go out, they win, they're competing for the 1 seed up until the last week of the season before they get knocked out by the Rams. You lose Sam Darnold, you're starting essentially a rookie in J.J. McCarthy due to his injury last year. I mean, are you going to win 14 games again? Like, that seems like a tough ask. And then, of course, you got FGB, who, yes, they made the playoffs last year, but, like, they kind of, low-key, do you really feel confident in the contract you just gave Jordan Love, considering, I mean, you really had to lean on Josh Jacobs last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think they feel confident that Love is at least a quality starter. The question is, do they feel confident that in the coming years they're winning because of him, not with him? And when you hand out that contract, you're handing it out based on how he played the second half of the year before, where like he carried them.
Yeah.
That did not happen last year. So here's kind of my, and I get it, I'm the Bears guy, spin on things. In my opinion, this offseason, overall, the Lions are trending down just a little bit because of all the coaching exodus. The Vikings are trending down because of the quarterback uncertainty, although I do love their roster. Like, if JJ is the 20th best quarterback in the league, they're probably a playoff team.
Yeah.
I think the Packers are kind of like a flatline team. I don't think they've gotten super better or super worse on paper. I think it's, like you said, a lot of it is Jordan Love dependent. How does he play this year? And then I think the Bears have improved. The question is, have they improved to the point where they're in the mix to win double-digit games like all 3 other teams did last year? I think it's possible, but they got to go out and prove it. I think on paper, the Bears are right there with the other 3 teams in this division, and in some cases could be better if Caleb takes a big step. I think that's absolutely on the board for this team.
100%. And again, if you're in the same spot you are last year, let's say you win 5, 6, 7 games or whatever. 7 would be an improvement, but like if you're still in that kind of realm, something seriously has gone wrong, or something that you thought you would bank on just did not come to pass. So, all things considered, I think this Bears team should be fighting not only for 8.5 games, but potentially for a wild card spot.
How would you rank the 4 teams right now?
I would say,
I can give you mine first.
Okay, I'm going to go for it.
This is going into the schedule. I think the schedule can dictate some things, like if you get a rough draw on travel or whatever the case. This is just my gut feeling. My gut tells me Detroit has still earned the right to be considered the team to beat in this division. So I still have them 1. I don't think it's a wide gap, but I still have them 1.
Yeah.
I think the Bears and I think the other 3 are jockeying, to be honest. And I think all 4 are in a way, but I will give Detroit the top spot right now. But I think that the debate for 2 is Chicago and Green Bay. Because I think the McCarthy thing is such an unknown. Like, people could say what they want about Caleb. We've seen him play, and we've seen him play well often enough in his rookie year in a horrible coached situation where it's like, okay, with the investment they've made, like, he should at least be solid this year. Whereas with JJ, I have no fucking idea if he can play at all. So I have to put them last on that alone. I don't think it's crazy to say the Bears would be ahead of the Packers right now.
By the way, someone says Venmo alert.
Yeah,
so,
I'm checking now.
To be honest, I'm not as high on Detroit as you are.
So you would not pick them to win the division today?
No. I think it's...
And I'm trying to be objective here.
Yeah.
I could easily just be like, Bears,
I'm not even... to be honest, I think Minnesota... Again, I'm more valuing this on the structure at hand of KOC and Brian Flores still being there. They added, some pieces in for agency. I think they did some good things in the draft with the limited picks that they had. And here's what I'll say. Again, for everyone that's doubting McCarthy, and again, I'm not saying he's going to be a world beater or anything. Again, they had Sam Darnold in the building. If they truly felt confident in Darnold's ability to lead them to kind of where they want to be, they just won 14 games last year. They let him walk out the door for nothing. Didn't tag him, didn't try to trade him or anything. They just let him walk out the door because of how much they believe in McCarthy. Like, I'm going to trust, Quessie's and KOC's evaluation of McCarthy. Again, coming off the injury is a concern. I'm not going to deny that. But I think I would have the Vikings as the first team, and then I would have, those other three kind of fighting for, second, third, and fourth. I think, again, Detroit's going to have the biggest regression in the NFL this upcoming season.
Okay.
So I think they're going to be kind of battling with Green Bay and Chicago for that kind of 2 through 4. And I have Minnesota right now as kind of the front runner in the NFC.
I guess my thing is, that's interesting, Minnesota. My thing with Detroit is even if they regress 4 games, they still win 11 games.
100%.
So, like, I just – and I get your Darnold McCarthy point. If Darnold didn't shit the bed the last 2 weeks, they would have re-signed him. I do think they would have. Like, I think they were – that in combination with drafting McCarthy. Like, you're telling me if they beat the Rams in a playoff game and are at least competitive in the second round, they don't bring – I think they would have at least tagged Darnold. Like, they didn't even tag him. So, I don't know. I think they've been a pass-happy team. I think they're trying to be more run-heavy. That's why they got Jordan Mason. They beefed up the interior of that offensive line, kind of like the Bears did.
Yeah.
I'm not even anti-JJ, and it's not really about the injury for me. It's that we've never seen him play in the NFL at all. Like, in a lot of ways, this is his rookie year. So, I think it's a tough ask.
It is.
I think it's fair to say that the 2 young players under the most pressure to play well this year are in this division, Caleb and JJ. JJ, because they won 14 games with a different guy last year, and the roster is probably even better this year. And Caleb, because of how much investment the Bears have put into him, and just because it's the Bears. Like, they're always, like, in the spotlight. So, it's going to be fascinating. I think it'd be awesome if, like, a Caleb-JJ rivalry started to brew in this division. I think that could definitely happen as well. All right, Joe Keel, a $20 Venmo. We appreciate you, Joe. He had a message, too. Let me see what he said. He said... Check messages, Harrison. Keep up the good work. Okay, Joel, I think you did. Did you message me the other day? Let me see. Okay, he says. Okay, the jerseys have not been shipped out, Joe. If you want to just send me the updated mailing, and we can we'll get it changed for you. I think you're good. I don't think we've shipped them out yet, so. Just message me on Venmo the updated address. You'll be good. But shout out to Joe.
Absolute legend.
I did see that a message came through. I was going to get back to those this week, but you're a real one, and congrats again on getting that jersey. All right, let's get to our final segment. And, guys, you let me know. How would you order the NFC North real quick? I want to hear what the chat's saying. Bears, Vikings, Packers, Lions.
Soldier Bear says, how concerned are you with Johnson in the playoffs, Harrison or Cullen?
Look, we've never seen him be a head coach, but, like,
right.
If they make the playoffs, I won't be that concerned. Because if he can guide this team to the playoffs in year 1, I'm pretty confident. But I think Minnesota is a good indicator that, like, listen, KOC is considered one of the best young coaches in the league, right? He's gotten popped twice in the playoffs. He lost to Daniel Jones and the Giants a couple years ago, and they got just railroaded by the Rams last year. So,
yeah.
But listen, if this team makes the playoffs and gets busted in the first round, hey, like you've taken a big step. You haven't even been in the playoffs since 2020. So, Benjamin says Detroit, Chicago, Packers, Vikings. That's where I'm at right now. Bears, Vikings, Lions, Packers.
Yeah.
Part of me, I'm trying to be careful, too, because I've had thoughts like, could Green Bay be the worst team in the division? But it's like...
They could.
But they're never bad.
Here's the thing. They don't have to be bad, but they
could go 8-9 and finish 4th.
Exactly. Like, Jordan Love could have a year where he just, like, maybe they just load the box up. Matthew Golden isn't who they thought that he was as a, first-round wide receiver. Excuse me. And Love and, LaFleur maybe butt heads. And they're just like, we may have made a mistake in paying this guy. Because, I mean, I listen, the few games that I saw from Love last year live, he didn't look, in terms of like the level of what you need to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. I wasn't sold. I'll tell you that much.
Is it crazy to say I would bet on Caleb Williams more moving forward than Jordan Love? I don't think it is.
I don't think so. I'm not high on Love, if you can't already tell.
I mean, he played great the second half 2 years ago, but like, if he was so good, he wouldn't have sat for 3 years. You don't draft a guy in the first round to sit that long, and then he has half a good, really good season. They pay him all this money, and they're kind of just stuck.
See, I'm kind of where Tim's at. Tim says Vikings, Bears, Lions, Packers.
I think the Vikings thing, and I will say this. I think if you take quarterback out of it, it's probably the best roster in the division.
Yeah, I would agree.
So then it just comes down to JJ.
Yep. It comes, again, I'm very, conscious
Shout out
of
Joe
saying,
Keel, and we got the new address. Shout out to Joe.
Shout out to you, brother. I'm very conscious in saying, like, I'm betting on essentially, an unproven prospect at quarterback. I totally get that. But I also trust KOC, Justin Jefferson. Again, having Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason is kind of 1-2 punch.
I do think Mason's going to help because they haven't had that physical running presence. He should help. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
I think you could legit make, again, and this is coming from guys who cover the Bears who they, went 5-12 last year. I mean, it could be really anybody's division. I truly believe
I think it's the one division in football where you will see arguments made for all four teams.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, maybe there's a little bit of that in the NFC West, but like, are people really going to pick Arizona? I doubt it.
Yeah.
AFC North, no one's picking Cleveland.
No one's picking the Cardinals in the NFC West.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, nobody.
Like, AFC South, is anyone picking Jacksonville or Tennessee? I think the NFC North, all four teams are at least going to be solid. And really, it was pretty close to being that way last year, but the team just collapsed after Washington. Let's be honest. Like, I'm not saying if they win that game, they go on to go 10-7, but I'm pretty confident they don't lose 10 in a row. I mean, they just completely lost all trust in the coaching staff after that game and how Flus handled the mishandling at the end of the game. They're like, wait, you said what?
You said what?
Yeah, this ain't it. All right, good discussion. Oh, by the way, you want to know what my segment idea for Thursday is?
I forgot that, because with the Justin Tucker.
I'll pass this along to you guys and see if you guys are interested. So I had a video idea where Cullen almost plays host, and I'm like, I react analyst, where we go through every team starting quarterback in the NFL, and would we take Caleb Williams over that quarterback? Yes or no?
So I kind of just tee it up.
Just like, Bills, Josh Allen. No, obviously.
Gotcha.
Tua, maybe. Probably.
I've seen kind of some segments out there. I'm not going to spoil anything, but yeah, like I have a vision in my head right now that I'll talk to you later after the show. But if you guys like to see that,
if you guys want that segment where we go through all projected starters and would we take Caleb over that starter, factors in everything, age, contract, all of it. Let me know. We can do it.
I'm down.
We can do it.
I'm down.
Giovanni in the chat. That's why you call a fucking timeout, Flus. By the way, you guys voted on that video last week of what segment you want on a show.
Speaking of which, of segments, I totally, and Soldier Bear, ironically, his chat, because he told me to remind you about this. So I had an idea. This is for a segment way down the line.
Okay.
I would do a Bear. You know how I did a Bears mock draft and you kind of reacted to it?
Yes.
Bears bold predictions, or I guess predictions for the upcoming season, where I do a whole show. You just react to it. You give your spin on it.
Oh, I like that. Be like a June segment.
Yeah, like again, nothing
between
soon,
mandatory minicamp and training camp when we're starving for content.
Yeah, I'll write a bold segment. I'll just be like, hey, this is how I think the Bears are. Some bold takes from the Bears. Again, if y'all like that first one I did, I can do it again. So we got some segments on the. And again, if you guys are like, hey, it would be really cool if you guys did X, Y, and Z. Feel free to leave it in the comment section if you want to throw it in the chat.
Yeah,
whatever.
Especially like late June, early July when things are slow. We'll definitely we'll kind of open up some content ideas to you guys and try to try to fulfill some of those segments. Don Burr is back. Don Burr is back. Since he's back, I've got the Lions finishing fourth. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's get to our final segment of the show. We're going to take a look at some running backs that the Bears could try to acquire between now and week 1 to pair with DeAndre Swift. So let's go ahead and do it. All right, coming up on today's show, we take a look at 18 running backs that the Bears could conceivably acquire between now and week 1. But I want to ask you guys first, do the Bears need to add a running back? Type Y for yes, they do, or type N for no, they don't. I'm Harrison Graham. This is Chicago Bears Now. Running back has obviously been a big topic for this team all offseason. We talked about Ashton Jeanty for months. That obviously did not happen. We explored Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, the day 2 running backs. That did not happen either. They did draft Kyle Monangai in round 7. Shout out producer Cullen, his first draft crush. But let's face it, there is still a thought that maybe the Bears need to add another running back. So on today's show, I explore some guys via free agency, trade, and then some potential surprise cuts that could happen between now and week 1 for the Bears to potentially add a running back to this roster. Okay, let's take a look at some free agents first, and the teams listed below are the team they played on this past year. Obviously, Nick Chubb, we've talked about him multiple times at this point. The question with him is he fully healthy? Certainly looks healthy in workouts, but it's one thing to do weight training. It's another thing to plant your foot in the ground, cut, accelerate, all that stuff. And if he is healthy, what Nick Chubb are we getting? Are we getting close to all-pro Pro Bowl guy, or is it more like last year where he's kind of underwhelming and, he's probably not going to average more than like 3.5, 3.8 yards per carry? How about somewhere in the middle? Can he be a fringe starter level back where he's part of a rotation, good in short yardage, can still see the hole, hit the hole, all that stuff. So I would bring him in for a workout. I've mentioned that. I would do a medical check, and if things check out, I would make him a mild offer of like $3 million with incentives up to $5 million or something like that. Okay, J.K. Dobbins, I think these are the 2 clear top free agent running backs. Dobbins had a nice little bounce back campaign with the Chargers last year. His first 2 games, he popped off back-to-back 100-yard games, didn't hit the 100-yard mark the rest of the season, so hard to know what to make of that. He does have a history of injuries as well. Still only 26 years old. I think in this system he could be pretty productive, catches the ball pretty well also out of the backfield, so you can do some things in the passing game with him. Also gives you a little more physicality than DeAndre Swift does, but I do think a healthy Nick Chubb probably checks more boxes in terms of what you're looking for to mesh with DeAndre Swift than J.K. Dobbins does, but Dobbins likely has a little bit more juice at this point in his career. Pick one to sign. If you could pick one, who would you rather have? Type NC for Nick Chubb or JK for J.K. Dobbins. If Chubb passed a physical exam, I think I would go for the upside signing there because I do like Kyle Monangai. I think he's going to be able to help this year. You still have Roschon Johnson, so I would probably lean Nick Chubb, but I wouldn't mind J.K. Dobbins by any means. Okay, Gus Edwards, who is also with the Chargers, who obviously spent several years with Baltimore as well. Physical runner. I think he's more of just a short yardage guy at this point. He can't really play on third downs, but that doesn't mean you couldn't sign him. Swift obviously can play on third down, so can Roschon Johnson. So, again, I think Gus Edwards is the fill in the blank. Is he better than Roschon Johnson? Yes or no? If the answer is no, you don't sign him. If you think he is, okay, he's probably worth bringing in. Okay, Jamal Williams is an interesting one that we haven't really talked about much because, quite frankly, the last 2 years in New Orleans, he's been pretty underwhelming overall. But the Saints have had a variety of issues, offensive line injuries, etc. Let's go back to 2022 when Ben Johnson took over as the full-time play caller in Detroit. Jamal Williams had a pretty damn good year, right? Over 4 yards per carry. It's the last year he averaged over 4 yards per carry, 17 touchdowns. Now, again, a lot of that was goal line merchant, but he was pretty effective with the current Bears head coach. Best year of his career. Now, I don't think any of us would expect 1,000 yards out of Jamal Williams. I don't think I even want that. Like, if you sign Jamal Williams, I hope he doesn't go for 1,000. That probably means he became your best back, and that is not an ideal scenario. But Could he have similar effect per touch on less touches, right? I think it said 266 carries. If he had 125 carries, could he give you 4 to 4.3 yards per carry, give you a handful of touchdowns? Well, okay. Like, you could be talking about a productive part of your running back rotation. Am I convinced that can happen? No, I have him lower on the list. But given the familiarity with Ben Johnson, I am at least intrigued by it if they bring him in. Okay, Cam Akers, a guy I've kind of always liked. He's had an up-and-down career. He's torn his Achilles twice, but he seemingly has bounced back from that. He averaged 4.3 yards per carry. Just kind of seems like wherever he is, he's just kind of solid, right? Like, he seems scheme-proof. So I'm intrigued by him. He'd be a vet minimum signing, I would assume, as well. So if you kind of want to buy low on a decent player, limited ceiling, but you kind of know what you're getting, Cam Akers could fill that void. I think he's still only 25, too. Okay, coming up next, we'll take a look at some running backs the Bears could acquire via trade. 3 notable names, and then we'll kind of get to some smaller names of small trades or guys who could get cut after training camp that the Bears could look to add. But first, I do want to tell you guys about our awesome sponsor. That, of course, is Rocket Money. Are you looking to grow your savings? Are you looking to scale back on your spending? Sometimes when it comes to spending, it's just out of sight, out of mind. Daily coffee habit, streaming subscriptions, it adds up fast without you even noticing. Rocket Money helps you spot those patterns so you can do something about them and keep more money in your pockets. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Smart money moves are all about getting more out of every dollar. With Rocket Money, you can easily find forgotten subscriptions and have them negotiate bills for you. Putting money back into your pocket help grow those savings. With those savings, by the way, Rocket Money practically pays for itself. It has over 5 million users, Rocket Money does, and has saved customers a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions alone, saving members up to $740 per year when they use all the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions today and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. It's rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. Use our link. It'll redirect you to the App Store to download the app. It helps support the show. One more time, link is in the comments and description of this video, rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. Okay, let's reveal both Seattle boys at once. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, we've alluded to both these guys on a couple of occasions here because there was that report before the draft that Seattle could be open to trading one of Walker or Charbonnet. You start with Walker here. He's had a pretty good 3 years. Now, what does concern me a little bit, and last year, I'm not giving them a pass for this, but their O-line was kind of a mess with injuries, especially on the interior, which is why they drafted multiple interior guys. But his yards per carry has declined each year, down to 3.7 yards per carry last season. So I do think that is a valid concern. I don't think he's like hit a wall as a player. He's still pretty young in his career, but can he get back behind a good offensive line, which we think the Bears will have, to at least being in the low mid-4s? I think that's something you would hope for. You see it, guys bounce back in a new situation all the time. Josh Jacobs, people were calling him cooked a couple years ago, goes to Green Bay, has a career year. So it's not like he has 10 years of NFL experience and mileage on him. So I still think he can be effective, but that is something to point out. Charbonnet, who's played 2 seasons in the NFL, so he's got 2 years left in his deal. Walker has 1. He's kind of just been steady, right? Like last year got a little more volume in terms of touches. I think 4.2 yard per carry his rookie year, 4.3 last year. So he's been pretty steady. He's also pretty effective as a pass catcher, 75 catches in 2 years, over right at 550 yards. He had 9 touchdowns last year total compared to 1 in his rookie year. So I do think he's ascending as a player. Now, how high can he get? Can he be a true lead back? I think he could be more of like a 1A, 1B situation, which is what it could be in Chicago. And we've kind of talked about this on some of our live shows because our producer Cullen is a Seahawks fan. It kind of feels like someone's going to be the odd man out. Because unless Damian Martinez, there were those reports of immaturity, unless he just doesn't pick up the playbook, which as a running back typically isn't that difficult, or is just immature, they just don't trust him. I feel like him, Walker, and Charbonnet are it's kind of redundant. They're all pretty physical backs. Kenny McIntosh, I think they're going to keep because he's more of that change of pace scat back. So, like, if Martinez isn't a question mark, it feels like one of Walker or Charbonnet is going to be out. Now, of course, they could keep all four, but you're not giving touches to four backs, so it feels kind of redundant to me, especially if they could get a draft pick for one of them. So I'll just ask you, who would you rather trade for? Type KW for Kenneth Walker, ZC for Zach Charbonnet. I still like Walker's upside overall better, but he does have one less year on his rookie deal, so it's kind of a tough call. My answer is I'd probably just take who's ever cheaper. Like, if one guy costs a fourth and the other guy costs a sixth, I'll just take the guy who costs a sixth, because I think both guys have proven they can be part of a 1-2 punch, whether they're the 1 or the 2. And you bring that guy in with DeAndre Swift. If it's Charbonnet, he's probably the 2. If it's Walker, he's probably the 1 with Swift as the 2. Doesn't really matter. They're both going to play a lot. So that would be my thought. KW for Kenneth Walker, ZC for Zach Charbonnet. And then I do want to touch on Breece Hall. I do think this one's less likely than one of the Seahawks boys at this point in time, but there was a lot of buzz heading into the draft that they could be open to trading Breece Hall. Really good player. I don't know if he's quite reached his potential. I think a lot of that's just playing with the Jets. That offense has been kind of a joke. We'll see how he plays this year, assuming he stays on the Jets. But dynamic ability as a 3-down back. I do think you could make a strong case that out of these 3 players, he could still be the most capable moving forward if he's in the right situation. Now, Brad Biggs of the Tribune had an interesting note on this, and I do kind of tend to agree. He said, I don't see how moving Hall after the draft makes sense for the Jets or makes them better. Had they chosen a running back high in the draft, maybe something could have materialized, but they didn't. I'm skeptical they would make him available at this point. He also mentioned that with the draft pick of Armin Mimbu and bringing in Justin Fields, like, they're going to run the ball a lot, and he's their best running back still, even though Braylon Allen showed a lot last year. I kind of agree with Brad. Had they taken it back on in the second or third round, like a Judkins or Henderson or even like a Caleb Johnson, I'd be like, okay, I could see them moving him, but you're going to move Breece Hall and roll with Braylon Allen, and I don't even know who their third back is. I think that's pretty unlikely. I think the Jets are going to keep him. They're going to try to be competitive this year, and if Hall has a big year, they'll extend him. If not, then he probably just walks in free agency next year. But I do think given the volume of players in each running back room, Seattle trading one of those top 2 guys feels much more likely than the Jets trading Breece Hall, and they're certainly not going to trade Braylon Allen coming off a good rookie year. Subscribe to the channel. We got Bears videos all year long, so hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We got you guys covered here on the show. All right, we've covered 5 free agents, 3 notable trade names. Now let's look at some cheap trade options / potential cuts. I could have put Travis Etienne into the last category, but I think the Jags kind of tipped their hand when they drafted 2 running backs in LaQuint Allen in the 7th round and Bashal Tutin in the 4th. If they like both those players, are they going to keep Etienne and Tank Bigsby as well? Etienne's kind of underwhelmed the last couple of years, so I think he could be available. I think there's a lot of skill set overlap with DeAndre Swift, but if it was cheap, I'd be open to it. Dameon Pierce is an interesting one. Physical downhill runner, had a really good rookie year. The last couple of years have been a little choppy. They drafted Woody Marks, so you could maybe get him for like a late-round pick swap. Blake Corum, they are expected to extend Kyron Williams. They also drafted, remind me, Cullen, who did the Rams? Jarquez Hunter, who's kind of a juiced-up running back. So Corum, who's more of a kind of a grinder, physical runner, could be made available. Zamir White with the Raiders, who underwhelmed as a starter last year, but I think in a rotation could be effective. He could be a cut, so you could potentially get him for free. Jerome Ford would likely be a late-round pick swap in a trade, but they just drafted 2 backs, so he could be available. Antonio Gibson, again, more of a scat receiving back, so I don't know if he makes sense. I love Kendre Miller coming out, little TCU bias. I don't think that one happens because there was a lot of reporting when Dennis Allen was the head coach there that he and Miller did not get along. I know Ben Johnson overrides him, but I would imagine that the intel he gets from Dennis Allen on Miller is not very good, so don't think that one would happen. Rashad White, Tampa's got a crowded room with Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker. Maybe Rashad White becomes available. Devin Singletary, they drafted Cam Scadaboo. They have Tyrone Tracy, so he could be the odd man out. And then Zach Moss in Indy as well. They signed Khalil Herbert, and they drafted DJ Giddens. So in addition to Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss could be a guy that potentially could be available, and he's a pretty solid physical downhill runner. All right, that is going to do it for this edition of Chicago Bears Now. Appreciate everybody for tuning in to today's show. Give me a follow on social media at HGramNFL on Instagram and on Twitter if you want more Bears content. Oh, man. We did this exercise.
We did. It's on our Chat Sports, all socials, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Gorilla.
Oh, I misspoke there. Moss is with the Bengals now.
Oh.
Either way.
Either way.
Same point.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think in this hypothetical scenario, it would be the Gorilla. I think you agree.
The Bengals drafted Taj Brooks. They have Chase Brown. They signed Samaje Perine, and they have Taj Brooks. Are they going to keep 4 backs? Probably not.
He also sent another superset, 100 men versus 1 grizzly bear.
I don't think the men are winning either of those.
No.
And the premise, again, guys, is no weapons. So, like, not even, like, sticks, like, stuff you – like, nothing. Like, you enter an arena with nothing. So, I think if you gave 100 men knives, like, you'd win because you would just get enough damage in there. But I'm just not betting against a grizzly or a gorilla when there's no weapons involved.
Agreed.
I'm not saying I'm not one of these people where there's no chance, but there's people who are like, oh, we'd win easily. And this is the question I always ask, Colin. Like, okay, who are the initial volunteers to attack first? Because those people are likely dead. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're in the initial wave, you know going in you're dead. So who's volunteering to do that? The answer is nobody.
Yeah, but first of all, and even if they do, you see that happen in front of you.
Yeah, you're going to be inspired to, okay, wave 2.
Yep.
I just think the mental part of it would be just as difficult as the physical. So, yeah, I'm taking these animals all day long.
Yeah, I don't think people realize, like, the mental aspect that goes into fighting these dudes. Like, they just think of, like, it as a numbers game rather than, oh, these are actual humans trying to take down these animals.
Yeah, I don't know what the number is. Like, if you told me 200, I'd probably take 200. But, like, no weapons at all. Like, I just don't think you have much of a shot. I just think the mental battle would be just as difficult. Agreed. Okay, Harrison Graham's beard says, early prediction, Bears start 2-5, finish 10-9. Do you mean 10-7?
No, he corrected himself. He said
9-8.
9-8. Yeah.
I could see that. Last year was kind of the opposite. They started faster, then just collapsed. Yeah, I mean, the schedule is going to be interesting because obviously you got your 6 division games. All those are going to be difficult. You have the AFC North games. I mean, maybe Cleveland's pretty manageable, but the other 3 of Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cincinnati are going to be pretty difficult. Even the last place teams you play, 49ers, they're going to be better this year. Carolina, they're going to be better than they've been the last couple years. Giants, probably your easiest game on the schedule. Mm-hmm. But, like, even I would think they're at least competent. A little better. I mean, I'm not a Russ guy, but, like, he's much better than what they had last year at quarterback. So, yeah, we'll see.
Agreed.
All right. Well, this was fun.
As
thanks
always.
to everybody for tuning in. Keep an eye out on a potential Joe Thuney extension. If that happens, we will hit you guys with a video here on the channel. My name is Harrison Graham. Shout out to Cullen for producing. See you guys soon. Bear down.